Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Malton Meeples. I'm Petter, and today we're continuing my top 100 games of all time, 2023 edition. We're on 90 through 81. I have my old fashioned, so I'm just about ready to go. I am ready to go. So, as well, if this is your first one you're checking out, you want to know how I create this list. I talk about that at the beginning of 100 through 91. I'm not, excuse me, I'm not going to go back and recap that right now because it's a little bit to talk through. Basically, if I haven't played a physical copy, even though I've played a digital, can't make the list if it's part of a group of games. So like Pandemic. All the versions of Pandemic go in a single group. Those are probably the big things you have to know. But let's get on to the list here. With number 90 going to be Galaxy Trucker. Galaxy Trucker has been on the list for several years now. This is a game where you are putting together a spaceship as fast as possible and then sailing off into space. You're trying to collect, excuse me, they're trying to collect goods and then sell them for the most money possible. But there are pirates, there are meteors, plenty of things to come and destroy your spaceship. Plus, there are rules for how you put together your spaceship. So if you mess that up, you might not even have a spaceship from the get-go. So this is actually an interesting game for making my list because as you build your spaceship, it is done in real time. And I am not a big fan of real-time games. I think this one worked because there is no clock on the real time. It's basically however the fastest player wants to go, that's setting the timer. So it's possible to just go pretty slowly with it and to really build out great ships. Or it's possible to rush through it and have everything explode. But I think the fact that the whole game isn't that real time works for me. Plus, I don't know, I get a little bit of like it feels a little bit like Futurama mixed with Cowboy Bebop, mixed with Space Dandy. Just like a wacky space adventure. And that works well for me. I like that about the game. Then at 89, we're going to have, yeah, that is the right order, Final Girl. So perfect for coming up on Halloween. This one I actually think could go higher. I just need to play it more. Final Girl is a solo-only game where you play the final girl in a horror movie. And so if you're not familiar kind of with this trope, Final Girl is the final one, the one who survives to the end. And the question is, will they or won't they actually end up surviving the whole thing? So you're going into various horror films, types of horror films, as the final girl. There's one, kind of the base box, not this core box. This core box is the basic stuff you need to play the game, but the base box is, or one of them that people kind of play, has Hans in it as this killer, and you're at a camp. So, very traditional. But it's done really well. It's this hand management, resource management, to try and complete different objectives, find weapons, and eventually take out Hans. Though some of the other missions, potentially like a haunted house or something like that, might give you different objectives for what you're trying to complete. And there are events that happen, basically telling your version of this horror film to see if, well, when you are the final girl standing, the one facing off against the murderer, can you defeat them. Crazed Killer, Ghost. I mean, they currently have another campaign for season 3. Krampus. There's a Krampus scenario. I'm definitely getting that one. And there's like a Hellraiser one. None of it is IP, so it's not actually Hellraiser, but that's kind of the vibe that it's going for. So a ton of different ways you can play, and you need this core box, and then you can just pick whichever one of the feature films feels the best for you. I own them all because I love horror movies. So what are you going to do? Then going on to number 88. Number 88, we have something that is fairly different. This is, well, completely different. This is a light-hearted party game where you are trying to get the guesser to guess their word based off of a picture you've drawn. So it's a little bit just like, or a little bit like Just One that way. They don't know what word they have. You're trying to draw it to get them to guess it. This, however, is not cooperative. Doodle Dash is about drawing as fast as you can, as good a picture as you can, to that the person will be able to guess with. Because if you're the first person, they have a little like wood cylinder, you grab that and you take it out. If you're the second person, you grab a die and you start rolling, and you're rolling and rolling until you hit stop. And the guesser is going to look at the first person who finishes their picture first. And if they guess it off of that, both of you get points. Then they'll look at the second players. If they guess it off of that, both of them get points. The first person doesn't get a point because their drawing wasn't good enough. Of course, if they can't get it off the second one, then everybody else who's left flips over their pictures and the person is trying to guess. But points go down, obviously, the further you go in. It's a fast, silly game. It does have a little bit of a problem that I don't mind too much, in that when you play this game, it's possible that the second person will roll for a minute, 2 minutes, because you're rolling a die. It's random if you're going to hit on the stop. I think it'd be better, or maybe an additional thing you can do if you have like a sand timer that's a minute. You flip the sand timer and you start rolling at the same time. So the time could be shorter, but it's never going to go on too long with somebody just rolling and rolling and rolling and never hitting stop while everybody else is drawing masterpieces. But the best part about this game for me is, and it kind of falls into what I like about good party games, is the game itself isn't providing the laughs. It's what players do and interact in the game. Like how quickly you draw something. You draw a stick figure of a horse and it looks horrible, but can the person guess it from that? And when you flip that over, everybody's going to be like, wait, that was the picture you got done? Oh boy, let's see what's going to happen here. I really enjoy Just One, actually. I have a game night coming up this Saturday. It might be one I pull out. So, now we should be on 87. 87 is Calico. Calico is an abstract game about building quilts. So, you might, and this bugs some people, on the cover of Calico, people see a cat and they're like, oh, Calico cats. That is not a calico cat. That is clearly an orange tabby. And the type of quilt, though, is a calico quilt. And they do have calico cats in Calico. But it's not a calico cat on the cupboard. Cover. Wow, cupboard? Cover. So, in Calico, you have a tile, and you're taking another tile, and you're playing one of those two onto your quilt. You're looking to create matching patterns of, well, patterns as well as colors. Those will get you buttons or cats, depending on which one it is. As well as then there are scoring objectives. So you might need 3 blue, or 3 of one color and 3 of another color. I think that's the right number of sides there. Yeah, or maybe it's 3 and 2, but let's say 3 and 3, 3 and 3. So 3 of one color, 3 of another color. But you also get bonus, can increase your points if you get 3 of one pattern and 3 of another pattern as well in your 3 of one color, 3 of another color. So there's a ton of different scoring objectives that you're trying to balance, and it's tough. Like, you're getting down to the end there, and I'm gonna, yeah, you get down to the end there, and it's a really good end. You're really hoping for that one right tile to come up. And I'm going to say that this game does a really good job of having a nice kind of even trajectory throughout it. It's the intensity builds, but turns don't grind to a halt, because at the beginning you have a ton of options. You can put anything almost anywhere, and by doing so you start to limit your options. So you eventually reach the point where now you're looking for specific things, or you only need a few specific things, and sometimes you're going to have to break up what you need or pivot with that, but you're down to a limited number of options. So the high intensity turns still go really fast because you only have a limited number of things that you can do. It's just a really nice arc and like a really tight game with how it plays. And you can make it easier too. You don't have to play with like that group of three scoring that I was talking about. So you can make it easier if you want as well. Then this should be number 86. At 86, we have another good one for Halloween. This is the Night Cage. The Night Cage, they actually talked about this recently on the Dice Tower when they were doing like a Halloween game list. And they were like, oh, it's not that great a game. I disagree. I think that, but it's like a really good Halloween game. I think that Night Cage is a really fun game. In Night Cage, you are all working together to get out of a labyrinth. However, you can only crawl through the tunnels. You just have a little candle that is guttering out. And if it goes out, you can't see anything around you. And even with the little candle, you can only see what's directly connected to the piece that you're on. So you have this ever-changing labyrinth that grows and shrinks depending on what is lit up as you go. And everybody's looking for keys. And everybody needs to get a key. And then everybody needs to get to a portal with their key to get out. All the time, you might flip over a location that's a monster. And now that monster, they're going to be trying to steal the wax from your candle. If you do, or the flame really, but they're wax eaters is what they're called. If they do, your candle goes out and you need somebody to come by and relight your candle. Otherwise, you're just moving blindly from one spot to another, hoping to find what you need. So all the while, the number of tiles you have is counting down and getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're hoping that you're finding what you're needing. It's a blast of a game that is very abstract, yet somehow very intense and very thematic feeling. Just watching the stack of tiles get shorter and shorter, they actually give you like a little holder for them that looks like a candle. So as it gets lower and lower, the candle is burning down. It's a blast. I love this game, especially now around Halloween. It is the perfect time for this game. Next up at 86, I believe. Let me double check. I just looked at the number and I forgot. 86 was the Night Cage. 85 is Destinies. Destinies is from, why am I blanking? It is Lucky Duck Games. Yes, it's Lucky Duck Games because it has a great app for it. This is a game of exploration and story and trying to complete your mission before the other players complete theirs. And as other players, you get what you need for your mission. That doesn't mean that you're done. Once you've collected everything, it just means you're getting into your end game, your destiny that you still have to complete, which might be tricky. And if it is tricky, then it gives chance for other players to catch up. This game is pretty simple in what it does. It has you rolling dice, and you have some dice that slowly refresh, and you have some that you always have. So you can always roll the ones that you always have, but then you might want to save for a special roll or to boost something the ones that you need, or the ones that refresh, I should say. Because what you're doing is you're rolling and you're trying to get over certain numbers. You have a board that goes from, I think it's 1 or 0 through 12 for 3 different attributes. And you have little wooden pieces or markers on there that tell you where your stats are at. You can improve your stats to get them lower and closer because you're trying to roll your dice, and everything that is at or under what you rolled counts as a success. You're trying to get as many of those successes as you can because you don't know really how many you need. That is one great thing about the app, is that the app hides that from you. You might know that it's like a hard check or a medium check or an easy check, but you don't know precisely how many you need. And sometimes going over can get you, sometimes going over can get you an added bonus. This is a blast of a game. I need to play more of it. Again, one that would probably be higher if I had played more of it. Then, 84. 84. We have Ascension, deck building game. Now, for a lot of people, this would probably be, well, if you had the same list as me, this would be Dominion here. Dominion, Ascension are 2 very pure deck building games. And I much prefer Ascension. Ascension is, like I said, it's a very pure deck building game. You're looking to build combos and synergies between the cards that you have. And you are buying more cards to help improve those. Or you're fighting monsters and beating them up to get points. That's the basics of the game. What I really like about it is that you have an ever-changing market. You buy a card, that card is replaced by a new one. And you can buy as many as you want in a round. So if you have a ton of money, you might buy that card that got replaced and then have another one replace it and another one replace it after that. Of course, sometimes it just loads up on monsters, and now if you've only built for buying cards, you're a little bit in trouble. But it's a really fun game with very good combos in it. And I think that's one of the 2 things that makes it stand out for me. So it's the combos, which I like it. I think it has better and more combos than Dominion. I don't think Dominion really has that many. Dominion's about barely having a deck of cards so that you can purchase what you need to every single time. And it also doesn't have a fixed market. Like I was saying, you flip out new cards, so the market is constantly changing, which means that you can't predict what's going to be the best strategy. You don't know what order those cards are going to come up in. There might be a whole bunch of green cards that come out first, but then you have brown and blue cards that come out after that, or purple cards that come out after that, and you're going to have to adjust how you're building your deck, where you're looking for your synergies, how you can help support other synergies possibly, based off of what is coming out. So you have to be more adaptive to what you're doing, which I really appreciate in the game. At 83, we're going to have Canvas. Canvas is a gorgeous game of painting the best pictures. It's really a game of getting the correct symbols at the bottom of the picture to score points. Because when you complete a picture of what's 3 overlaid cards, what you see at the bottom is going to determine kind of what rewards you get and what ribbons you get. And it's with those ribbons that you're going to end up scoring your points at the end of the game. Of course, you might just be, well, like I am sometimes, where it's like, it's a minor difference in points, but because you're laying 3 transparent cards on top of each other, so in this picture, like the girl might be one level, the cloud with the hot air balloon basket might be another level, and the chessboard might be the background level. And so you're stacking all of those together and creating that picture. And so you might be like, well, but this is the better looking picture, and just create the better looking picture. It is a ton of fun, very simple game of building out your pictures. You're basically purchasing different parts of the pictures from a marketplace that changes and fills in. So yeah, it's a light game, a fun one, really pretty to look at. One that I definitely enjoy. It's been a little bit since I've played it, but I have played it a number of times and just I always enjoy it every time that I do. Number 82, then we're going to have Ecosystem. Ecosystem is one of many drafting games that you will see on this list, I think. I actually haven't counted how many drafting games there are, but I imagine that there's quite a number. I really enjoy drafting games. Trailblazers, which if you watched Monday's stream, I played that for the first time and actually then played it again multiplayer last night. That one didn't make the list. It's too new. This list has been set for a week and a half now. But Ecosystem, you are drafting different creatures or habitats to build out your ecosystem. So in this version of the game, you can get meadows, you can get rivers, you get bears, wolves, deer, rabbits, trout. Each of them scores a different way. So like trout score if they're next to water, obviously. And how much water they're next to increases how much they score. Rabbits just give you a point, but they allow you to swap placements of stuff. And you're building out this 4x5 4x5 grid. 4 tall, 5 across. And that is going to be the area that you can play. So sometimes that rabbit for 1 point is really useful because a fox doesn't score if it's next to a bear or a wolf, which means you might need to adjust stuff, especially later in the game. There's tons of different ways you can go about trying to score the best, and from what I've seen, all of them work quite well. So there's plenty of strategy, plenty of fun to be had with this one, and I really do enjoy drafting just because it's one of those games then that has zero downtime for people. You'll probably hear me talk about downtime fairly often as well because I don't love, like, I take my turn, and especially if it's a game I'm familiar with, maybe compared to the people I'm playing with, my turn takes a minute or 30 seconds. And then I wait 2 minutes for the next person to go, 3 minutes for the next person to go, 3 minutes for the person after that. It's 8 minutes of game time that I'm not doing anything. And then I take my turn on 30 seconds again, and it repeats and repeats. I feel like I'm just sitting there. Now, sometimes that works. Sometimes I'm sitting there, but I'm watching what everybody else is doing because it's interactive enough that I can be like, oh, I need to know that you're going there because then I'm going to have to adjust my strategy to go there. But drafting games generally are like, okay, I take what I want from the hand, or every once in a while, I'll look at the person I'm passing my hand to and be like, oh, you probably want that card. I'll take it. So ecosystem is a good one, tends to be one of the friendlier ones. There's less mess over your neighbor sort of drafting that you can do. But that's good. I mean, it's like a 20-minute game that is pretty serene to play. So fun for that. And then at number 81, we're going to have one that doesn't actually come out until I believe March of next year, but I have played it twice. Physical copy, Star Wars Unlimited. And this, I believe, is the only trading card game to make the list. Magic the Gathering just missed. Lorcana just missed. Lorcana might have made it had I been able to get my hands on any of it. And Magic the Gathering might have made it if I'd actually played with the Lord of the Rings stuff that I have. I probably will coming up soon, so that might be climbing up the list. But Star Wars Unlimited has the great benefit of it's Star Wars, which I love, and being a very streamlined trading card game experience. I like how some of the stuff are done at the same time. So like when both players have passed for a round, I can then draw my card and decide if I want to play down a card as a resource at the exact same time that you are. So that's fast. Then on your turn, you either play a card, you attack with a card. I mean, you claim first player for the next round, or you pass. So, like, there's not a ton of options that you do. And everything comes in with summoning sickness, so to speak. So, it's just really fast. I decide to play a card. There's nothing you can do to stop me from playing that card. But, so I play that card out. That's the only thing I do, though. It simplifies, like, Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of fun combos and stuff. And I'm excited to dig into this. Like, this Lorcana, I'm excited to dig into. But Star Wars Unlimited, way more excited. This one is... I'm really stoked to get my hands on this and to start doing deck crafting and just seeing all the cards. I love Star Wars, so it's a pretty... I mean, it might be higher because of that than some other ones. So I'll be curious once I get my hands on it come March to see how much I play it and what my thoughts are once I've started to really craft my own decks. Finish up my old fashioned there. And let's just quickly go through the list again. So at number 90, we have Galaxy Trucker. Build your space truck as fast as you can and hope it doesn't blow up as you're on your way to pick up and deliver goods. Then we have Final Girl. Play as the final girl in a horror movie in this solo-only game where you can pick all sorts of different feature films to play in, whether it be the classic killer at a camp, or a ghost, or even against the Krampus. Then at 88, we have Doodle Dash, a fast-paced game of drawing and trying to be just accurate enough that you can be the fastest and the guesser can guess what you drew. 87, we have Calico, game of building out a calico quilt for calico cats. And what's a very tense, cute puzzle of a game. At 86, we have The Night Cage, another great Halloween game of being trapped in a labyrinth that is ever-changing, trying to find keys, avoid monsters, and eventually all escape out of a portal together. At number 85, we're going to have Destinies, an app-assisted game with a lot of story and exploration as you try and complete your destiny before anybody else does. Very simple mechanics, a lot of fun to play. At 84, we're going to have Ascension, the deck building game, my favorite pure deck builder, where you have an ever-changing market and have to adapt to that, as well as then have monsters to fight against. At 83, we have Canvas, a game of making the best picture, or a picture that's going to score you the most points, by overlaying 3 different parts of a picture all on transparent sheets that overlay to create their own special image. And then at 82, we have Ecosystem, a game of drafting creatures and terrains to build out the best 4x5 grid of an ecosystem. It is a fun, kind of serene drafting game. And finally, at 81, which you just heard me talk about a few seconds ago, comparing to Magic the Gathering, we have a trading card game, Star Wars Unlimited, where you take light side or dark side into battle against your opponent. Who also might have light side, even if you have light side. And you're doing fast actions, fighting against each other, determining where you're going to hit without all those concerns of Magic the Gathering of, oh, who has priority? What's the stack look like? How is everything going to trigger? But with that, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was fun. I know my top 100 chunk of 10 tends to take about 30 minutes to talk through, a little bit more. So hopefully this was fun. Let me know which out of these games was your favorite. Is there one that you say, yeah, that is a great game, it should be higher on my list? Or is there one that you look at and you're like, I'm not so sure about that one? Or even one that you look at and you're like, I really want to try that game. Let me know those down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this content, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. The best way to know when I go live really is to subscribe and click that notification bell. But if you're not quite sure on that yet, you can always check out the previous videos that I've done, including 100 through 91, or join me for another live video. So Wednesdays, for a little while now, are going to be my top 100 games of all time, 2023 edition. So next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, I'll be doing 80 through 71. But if you join me at 9 p.m. Central on Mondays, you can see what random solo game I've decided to play. Trailblazers was the one I played last Monday. So 9 p.m. Central on Mondays is the other time that I go live, and I tend not to announce what I'm playing ahead of time because I just don't know. But if you want to check out other content besides my video content, I do have a link for nerdologist.com down in the description below, and I run a Marvel podcast called 10 Minute Marvel. You can find that wherever you find a podcast, or check out 10 Min Marvel over on Facebook, facebook.com/10minmarvel. But with that, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a week. Well, I'll see you before if you watch the gameplay, but I'll see you in a week for 80 through 71. Bottoms up.